Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Popcorn Watchlist podcast, where we discuss and celebrate our favorites in TV and film. I am your host, Xavier, and today we are going to be talking about one of the latest box office blockbusters to hit the theaters for this summer. It's going to be the one and only Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. Joined with me today are my fellow Popcorn Watchlist podcast panelists, Anthony and Danny. And today's episode is going to be pretty interesting because you have somebody like Anthony and I who have been veterans, have seen all of the movies in the Mad Max series over the many years that they've been out. And then you have Danny, who's really only seen Fury Road. So this guy, I think you've probably seen more of George Miller's works from stuff like Babe 2 and Happy Feet.
Happy Feet.
Yeah. And then you're like, wait, this guy did these movies? And I'm like,
Happy Feet.
Yeah. You don't even, yeah. There's no wombo combos here, but there are wombo combos in this movie. But anyway, before I get way ahead of myself, written and directed by George Miller, one of Australia's most, I like to say, one of the most more famous directors, especially when it comes to trying to do things more either practically, visually. He has a really cool visual style that if you've seen, let's say like the other Mad Max movies, it's pretty noticeable. I can't tell if going back and watching some of the other stuff, it's like, it's hard to see it, but I think like some of it's in the camera work. But anyway, and as of this episode's recording, Danny, run some quick numbers by us.
Yeah, for sure. So to start off, we have the budget of the movie, which the budget is $168 million. It's pretty high for...
Yeah, pretty high for a rated R action movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of, desert stuff. It's another
power.
movie about desert power. Yeah. Yeah, you guys ever mess around with Australian Dune?
This is a totally different type of desert power.
Desert power.
Could you imagine the crossover?
You guys like Australian Dune? That's basically what this is.
So instead of like two warriors and drummers on cars, you just hear like the whole time.
And Fremen chanting Lisan al-Gaib and Harkonnen.
It is
and Sardaukar
They
chanting.
can't handle the worm.
And and Sardaukar chants and using the voice in the Bene Gesserit. Sure. But think about it. There are cultures, both series or both franchises have a culture where water is sacred or like water is hoarded. They settle disputes. They settle disputes by grandiose fighting, and there's obviously a desert. There's desert wastelands of Arrakis. But anyway, I digress. So. You were mentioning the budget's $168 million, which is pretty high.
Now, the opening, which was pretty low, we were at $26 million.
Yeah, it made me sad. But was it number one that week? And it was
yes.
That's the thing.
That week.
It was
a week
tied with
what else came out that week? Was it the same week?
It's like a weekend that nobody went to the movies.
Yeah.
Yes, everybody decided I'm gonna go to the beach for Memorial Day or something and watch.
Not many people have been going to the movies so far in summer. Yeah,
that's true. It's wild that we keep making references to another Warner Brothers released film, Dune Part 2. That's still the highest grossing film of the year.
Crazy.
I think it's gonna get passed in a week. Inside Out comes out next week, so.
Well, yeah, we'll see. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not ready for that. I'll be honest with you, dude. I'm going in there hella guarded because I don't want to be traumatized again.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll still be good, and I think families are waiting to take their kids to something.
Yeah.
And Despicable Me hasn't come out yet, right? Not yet.
No, not yet.
And I know Garfield came out recently.
It was
the same. Okay, there it was the same week.
Yeah, it was the same week. It was
Furiosa,
but nobody watched that either. So
and week
If
2
is somewhere in there.
It's week 2.
I think
of
If came out the weekend before.
Yeah, it was week 2 of If. But yeah, given the budget, I don't know if it's having to do with a lot of the effects, or a lot of the practical stunt work has to be done. But at the same time, you do have big powerhouses in the castings. I don't know if a lot of the budget went to that or not.
In comparison to the box office, the budget is pretty high. But like if you compare this to like, I don't know, some Marvel movie with 200 plus million, it does look pretty good. Like visually,
well, and
CGI wise,
a lot of Marvel movies are also like, some of them, the majority of them are green screen, so it's just visual effects heavy. Versus this one has visual effects, but it also, you know,
more practical.
Yeah, I think he tries his best to do as much practical as possible, which is why the car chase scenes are done very well and very intense, very cool.
And what's cool is that, you know, we talk about like, I'm talking about like, you know, big heavy hitters in the cast. You have Chris Hemsworth, Anya Taylor-Joy, but what's fun is that you also have some actors who have returned from their parts from Fury Road, which is really cool. Either different or either the same characters or they were different characters. In the case of one, Josh Helmet, which is great because I can get real deep dive, but it was really great seeing Angus Sampson as the organic mechanic again. Obviously, Nathan Jones.
The names in these movies are awesome.
So this is one thing that Danny...
even in the other movies, the names in the other movies.
This is the thing I had to explain to Danny. I think while we were watching, I was like, "Yo, everybody has these wild names."
Rictus erectus.
Rictus erectus. That is the coolest.
Scrotus.
Scrotus was Immortan Joe's other son. The People Eater kept touching his nipples, all weird like. He reminded me of that guy from Dodgeball when they're washing the car. But you also had
history man.
The Bullet Farmer. There's different history men in other spots, but
there's history men and women because in Fury Road, the old woman, I guess that was like the caretaker of Immortan Joe's wives, she had all those words and letters on her face. So now we know because of this movie that she's a history woman. She's
one of there are history men and history women, which is really cool because you had Dementus had his own.
That's a name itself too.
Yeah, the Red Dementus. He had a really fun different titles throughout the movie, which made sense. Which again made sense. Was cool, but let me think. You had. Damn, I'm trying to remember the what this lady's name is, Miss Tilly or
which lady?
The history woman that was with Immortan Joe's wife, Immortan Joe's wives
in Fury Road.
In Fury Road, yeah.
Oh,
she was Miss Giddy. I'm cheating and looking up stuff, but yeah, it was Miss Giddy. But then you had new characters. Praetorian Jack was cool. He was a sort of mirrored Max. Obviously, Dementus. He, and then some of his other cronies, people Vulture, Toe Jam, his lieutenant, the Octoboss. That guy was wild. We'll get to some of the big set pieces later on, but also showing off Dementus wild stuff. He picked up other lieutenants along the way. Fun fact, with a little bit. It's maybe a little bit of nepotism or going through, but it was fun having Elsa Pataki be two different people in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't catch this until afterwards that Elsa.
Who was the second person?
She was Mr. Norton.
Who?
The lady who, when they were doing the whole "we're gonna dance with Darwin" sequence, when Dementus we're gonna pull your boss apart.
Oh, okay.
And then hey, we're holding tryouts basically,
and
she gets hit in the face with a wrench and half her face is all jacked up. That's Elsa Pataki.
Ew, really?
Yeah, under that makeup.
Look like her.
Yeah, it's because the makeup
didn't look
really
like her
strong.
before she got.
Yeah,
slashed.
and then she got jacked up with a freaking wrench. That was out of hand. So. Yeah, the cast was done. The cast is set in place. It's cool. I think most of the movie. I forgot where it was shot. Was it shot in the same areas they shot Fury Road, which I think was in Northern Africa? But someone's gonna have to fact
only
check
Africa, or
I don't remember.
They not
exactly.
shoot a lot of it in Australia.
In Australia,
filmed in New South Wales, Australia.
All Australia.
This is IMDb. All Mad Max movies have been filmed in Australia with the exception of Fury Road, when record rainfalls transformed the normally arid desert areas into lush green growth areas. Fury Road was filmed in Namibia.
It's like, whoops, the green place. It turned into the actual green place.
Not in this movie.
Yeah.
Not today.
Yeah. So going into this, like, be that as it may, like, it's funny enough, also in terms of numbers, Furiosa is longer than Fury Road by, like, 20 minutes, right?
Yeah.
25 minutes or so. So, also longer runtime.
Fury Road was exactly 2 hours, I believe.
Yeah.
Like, maybe 2 hours and 1 minute or something,
So, longer runtime because we get more of an understanding about Furiosa as a character. I mean, like, more of her backstory. If you remember Fury Road, like, George Miller basically has to write, what did Furiosa do during these 7,000 days away from her family? So, and, like, it was, part of a gut-wrenching moment, too, because her mom was trying to go after her. And, the general of the Vuvolini of the Green Place, which is also Elsa Pataki, she was like, no one can know what this place is. So she's like giving her all the bullets and guns that kill everyone. At the same time, get Furiosa back.
That's like the first 20 minutes of the movie, maybe?
Yeah. And like if you remember the dialogue from Fury Road, when she finally meets up with the survivors of that tribe, they ask her like, "Oh man, where's Mary?" It's like, what happened to Mary Jabasa? And like, "Oh, it's been 7,000 days." Like, "Oh, we lost her on the third day."
Jeez.
And I was like, "Man, that third day is gonna come, and it's gonna be rough." And exactly what happened. But at the same time, like Dementis in his own weird way, like big props to Chris Hemsworth for making this character be really insane, but also have these interesting depths and layers to him too.
I thought he did awesome.
Yeah, he's very charismatic, but he's a really terrible middle management guy. Like, because you can tell he can't manage stuff, anything. He just
when they go into where he's at in one sequence, which spoilers.
Spoilers for this movie,
the whole movie, and Fury Road possibly.
Yeah.
Just like they did.
Furiosa goes into Fury Road.
Just like they did in Furiosa. Be careful if you go to watch Furiosa. If you haven't seen Fury Road, at the end of Furiosa, the credits shows pretty much
clips of the movie.
Clips of throughout the whole movie of Fury Road.
So just till the end, right when it ends.
Right. So don't watch the credits.
I'll even say, like, if you're watching this in theaters, once it gets to like in the movie, whatever, like there's credits, like just get up and go, because I don't want you, and you've never seen Fury Road, just go and just watch Fury Road. Why not?
Just get home
and it's not worth staying till the end, because I did, and even after the normal credits, they show seconds of just that. What do you call it? The little bobblehead doll from Nux's car from Nux's car in Fury Road, just like shaking for like 2 or 3 seconds, and then that was it. So I don't know if that was supposed to allude to anything, or it was, to me, it just looked like just the like same scene of that clip from Fury Road. Yeah,
so if you want to see some of this, like at least if you're listening to us and you haven't seen any Mad Max movie, and this is your first one, once it gets to like all right, movie's over, like just if you're watching in theaters, get up and go. If you end up watching this at home or you rent it, stream it, whatever, just stop it and then go watch Fury Road on your platform of choice, because they go. I have now, having rewatched all the other Mad Max movies, like these two would be pretty cool to go right hand in hand, because then you're like, oh cool, there's some interesting, some great context and a lot more world building from what we see in Fury Road.
It's kind of almost like that Rogue One episode 4 kind of.
Yeah, almost.
Where it just kind of just leads right up with the ending there.
Yeah, except then
no Darth Vader moment though.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
But it's sort, you kind of only sort of get that with the beginning of Fury Road with Max's capture.
I mean, you kind of get it with Furiosa. She has her like robotic arm.
Dude, I didn't know she had a motor on that thing. She had a motor on that thing. That was pretty freaking cool. Yeah. Anyway, we're kind of getting to it. So talking about.
It's alright. We're gonna go all over the place.
Yeah,
just like this movie.
They kind of like spoiled that final sequence on a trailer. I don't know if you guys noticed.
Yes and no. I think it's only spoiled once you've seen the movie and you go, oh wow, you're playing that, because when it's out of sequence and no context, you're good, you're fine.
Yeah. But when you see the movie, you're like, why would they put this?
Yeah. What? But anyway, like kind of getting to the movie, like not really knowing what I went into it, not knowing what to expect and like what kind of like tone or pace of the movie George Miller was going to go for in this, so I kind of just went in open-minded, kind of see, like, like in my mind, it's like, nothing can beat, like the big set pieces from Fury Road. Like, we're going in there, like, not that, like, it's not going to be as good as Fury Road, but it's just like, okay, like, this is cool to see more backstory. I want to see how he plays with, characters, with this character going through her whole saga. How do you mix in Chris Hemsworth into it and realizing, oh, wow, these people from Fury Road are still here and they're still interacting over these, like, whatever, 15 years or something. So it's that was really cool to see. But like, yeah, like the whole opening, like that whole sequence of Mary trying to like save her daughter and like being a crack shot sniper and his murking fools is pretty out of hand. Also, Furiosa herself is pretty, seeing the guys going into the green place. She also kind of was like, hey, like the green place, needs to be protected somehow. So, fun fact, the little girl, Valkyrie, that's the girl in Fury Road that ends up getting like run over, but also like
the naked girl in the trap.
The one that's bait. That was her younger.
She was supposed to be Wonder Woman.
And also she
Guillermo del Toro Justice League movie that never happened.
Or George Miller Justice League movie.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's a George Miller Justice League.
That could still happen.
So also, what's fun?
Awesome.
So she was supposed to live in Fury Road, but she had a scheduling conflict, so they had to write her off and kill her off. Which I will say, I don't know, Danny, like if you go back and watch other Mad Max movies, like George Miller's not afraid to kill people off. Like he'll do it narratively, and it'll be a gut punch, as you saw in this movie too.
Except
you're
for
like,
Max.
He won't,
because he's mad.
Yeah,
you can't.
That's the whole idea. He's the road warrior. I'm going to teach you about road war. I think that's the first time I've ever heard anyone mention it as road war, but thanks to Praetorian Jack. But yeah, like I'll leave it up to you guys because I can fawn over all the set pieces and all the cool character building that happens in this movie. But yeah, I'll open the floor to either you, Danny, or Anthony about some of the some key moments that you liked.
Well, one thing I thought that this movie did very well was the world building, which I guess that's one of the reasons why it's probably a little longer than Fury Road. Because some people may think Fury Road's pretty simple, and it is. It's story-wise, it's not that complicated. It's they're going somewhere, and then they turn around and come back. But it's awesome.
Halfway made it to the trip, and then just go back.
This movie is more of like a long story throughout,
Furiosa's
almost 2 decades,
15 years.
15 years of Furiosa's young life, and throughout those 15 years, it shows more of the cool world building that he started in Fury Road. So it shows more of the gas town, more of the bullet farm. They go back to the Citadel, and it shows more and more.
Like they actually go through towns instead of in Fury Road where you're just going down.
So in Fury Road, it's more of things that you kind of have to guess and interpret because there's all these weird names that they throw out, and so you just assume. I mean, it's pretty simple. They get bullets from the bullet farm. They get gas from gas town.
What's funny is that like
I was like,
in Fury Road,
gas town.
In Fury Road, the war boy, the war imperator guy, he's like, we're not going to Gastown. I was like, no, we're not. This movie, yeah, we're going to Gastown. Like, we actually go to Gastown and the bullet farm. So and they lead to some really cool set pieces,
right?
Which again, I didn't think it could live up to a lot of the stuff we see in Fury Road, but a couple of them are pretty neck and neck in terms of some of the things that happen.
I didn't think they were going to show Immortan Joe as much as they did.
Yeah,
so I was surprised at that.
There's again, yeah, like Anthony said, we're jumping around. That whole sequence where Dementis, spoiler alert again, does his old Trojan horse thing to take over Gastown, and then they kind of do this whole like stalemate where like, hey, you kill me, I'm gonna blow up Gastown, you have no gasoline. and that's the whole thing. Like Dementis is just trying to like overpromise stuff to his crew, and he ends up under delivering quite a lot.
Yeah. Well, when they go back to Gastown and like literally the whole town is like
this close to revolt.
Yeah,
but like
literally revolting.
A part of me thought is like maybe he wants to have it revolt just so they can feel like, oh, it's unstable, which then made Bullet Farm open for him to take it over. But I think I'm giving Dementis too much credit.
Right, because he was there for a while. That was a long play to to get
to try to order it up. Yeah, especially when he negotiated favorable trading terms with things like the produce. He's like, oh, my boys need protein as well. And then he, in return, he ended up having to give up his organic mechanic and Little D, who was Little D, which is young Furiosa, which that was kind of heartbreaking. It's just like, okay, you're gonna give her. He's like, I'm gonna go and I can speak and screw this guy because he killed my mom. But you know what I mean? It was almost like, because he had his little teddy bear thing, so you knew he still had a family. He was like a kind of twisted father figure kind of thing, but at the same time, she's like, no, you killed my mom. I need to get away from you as quickly as possible. And then, Rictus Erectus likes her hair, which is weird. And he's a giant man baby.
Another thing I wanted to mention, so I didn't expect the younger Furiosa to be like an hour and 10 minutes long.
It was me too.
We didn't get.
I actually checked my watch. I was like, Anya Taylor-Joy is not in this movie yet.
And it's been an hour.
It's been an hour.
Credits,
after trailers. I timed it from when the movie actually started after trailers.
Yeah.
And I think it was an hour or something.
Look, I'm gonna be real with you though. Big credit goes to Aaliyah Brown because she did a really good job.
The little girl was great.
She did a really, really great job. There is no way. I was really impressed with how she held up a lot of that, and having to go through all that those different things. The whole her seeing and riding along with Dementus's biker horde. And then they go up to the Citadel, and then that whole Citadel, failed Citadel siege. You can tell, is this how she gets taken into the Citadel? Do they end up using that weird, creepy crane and just take her away? But you see how hella protective. That's what made it really weird, right? Because it was Dementus killed her mom and did whatever. It's I'm doing this for you. And
but he wanted to keep her.
He wanted to keep her and was trying to save her from that whole point. It's he risked his ass to go in there and grab her.
But he also kind of wants well, in the beginning, he wanted to know where this place was.
So that the whole thing is just I need you alive so you can tell me where the place is.
The place of abundance.
A place of abundance. And again, big props to Chris Hemsworth for just being kind of this
super Australian,
kind of zany, but at the same time unhinged and really, really sadistic.
With a cape.
With a cape.
But smart.
Throwing it around.
He was smart.
He
made some chess moves.
some smart decisions. He also made some dumb decisions when they blew up. They blew up the flare. And he's just the red Dementus. And he just rolls with my beard is red now. I'm not gonna touch it. He didn't care.
He did.
His chariot was 3 bucks.
Oh, dude, that's the coolest thing. This man riding up he's on a chariot, but it's just 3 motorcycles. I don't know how it works, but it doesn't matter because it's awesome.
And again, it's goofy. And then you get to a point where this guy who tried to rebel against him, they're gonna draw and quarter him with motorcycles. Yo, that's gruesome.
Yeah, he did some.
He did some Joker
kills.
moves. Yeah, man. Yeah. We're gonna dance with Darwin. I think that's one of the coolest lines written in that entire movie.
He definitely had some
We're
Joker
gonna dance
vibes.
with Darwin. Oh man, the whole when Furiosa ends up seeing where Martin Joe's wives live and the organic mechanic is oh cool, she's pregnant, and then it's a fused deformed fused twins. He's no, it's not gonna happen, and and you it's terrible because it's that's strike 2. You're because get back to Anthony's point about world building. You're these girls are just there for how long? Is it just
who knows?
They're only there for as many times they try to give Immortan Joe a son, and if it's not a good son, then it's then you're cast back out.
But what does he consider a good son? Because he has 3 strange sons.
Yeah, 2. The third one, I don't know, was born yet.
I don't know.
He's only in Fury Road, which has the funniest name ever. His name is Corpus Colossus, and he's a small. He's a small little person. You're going to see
small little person.
That was redundant. He's just redundant. He's a little person. See what's agitating dead. Anyway, yeah, man. Big props, and it's again you see again a not blind bullet farmer, and but a still weird people leader. Counting up all the cost and whatever, but that leads us to Furiosa working in the gears and stuff, and kind of hiding out, and then she gets recruited by Praetorian Jack when they build that brand new shiny ass war rig that carries all the supplies around
with the balls.
With what did they call that thing? Oh my god! It had a name.
I don't know,
it had the mechanism had a name, and I was like, dude, this is
the Twisted McFisty.
This is the coolest freaking crap I've ever seen. Like that led to one of the like probably my favorite like action set piece in the entire movie.
That was like the scene of the movie, and it was the middle of the movie.
Yeah, and it was so freaking.
And then when they're going through the truck on that sequence, I think. Alex, you were in the screening with me, right?
Yeah, we were there.
I think you looked over at one part where the guys in the parachute, not the parachute, but the...
No, these guys were basically like, they were in motorcycles, and then like,
and they just start flying.
We're like, we're going to turn on the industrial fan with a paraglider and become paratroopers, like paragliders.
You lost it in
that.
Me too.
What is going on?
The first time it happened, I was like, oh, nice. And then when they... amped it up, and I was like, part 2, I was like, oh!
And like they're going around and still like trying to like carpet bomb the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's when like, you know, and the whole time Furiosa, she just stowed aboard and ended up helping out.
Did she stow aboard, or like was she always like supposed to work? Like do something on a truck, but she ended up doing other stuff.
She stowed aboard under it, remember? And then the other.
I thought because she was like fixing something underneath.
No,
she just went without them knowing.
She ended up fixing it because she knew that was her only way out. Because the other guy got in there, was like, "Damn, I can't make it." And he's like, "Hey, you got to do it right."
Yeah.
Like that whole. Like they're like secret weapon, like no, don't use it yet. And I was like, dude, it has like, you know, like the truck nuts in the back.
Yeah,
and it's like, what is happening here? And then
like because you're seeing it, like what is that? It just looks like this truck has testicles. And then when it turns on,
and then when they fire it up, dude,
mayhem.
Yeah, all those. Oh, and then it's cool because you saw there's more of the war boy culture because they built the war rig in the Holy House of Motors where they worshipped the great. Glory of V8, which I still think is the coolest thing. They just interlock their hands together. Yeah, they still sprayed their hands. They still sprayed their mouths and witness for an explosion. Like, yeah, witness. And
did they do that like the Witness Me in like in the first movies? Like,
no, they did not.
No, that was just Fury Road.
Yeah. That's only an Martin Joe people thing. Like that's a war boy thing.
Yeah.
That's just part of like the cult that he created.
So I have a question for you guys.
Do it.
What do you guys think of Anya Taylor-Joy's version of Furiosa compared to Fury Road with Charlize?
I think she still kept the same level of like intensity that character had, but still was able to show like, you know, she's younger, so she's less guarded. Like there's more emotion. Like a lot of the emotional connections with Jack really landed with that with a younger Furiosa, as someone's less like battle hardened, which all makes like the whole rescue at the bullet farm way more harrowing for them. At the same time, it ties in the whole thing where it's like how she got better at her job and make, you know, my head imperator Furiosa. It's like, how did she get that way? Because she had a great teacher. Because Jack was like, I'm going to teach you about road war. And because, you know, the only people who end up living at the end of that run, which Jack had been like the biggest survivor of all these different runs on the Fury Road, was him and Furiosa. Was like, yeah, like we can go hand in hand and make this work. And they did. Like they lived relatively comfortably because they're enforcing Immortan Joe's will while trying to keep that weird triangle trade going on.
They were kind of just like sort of generals of like their own field of operation, like within the whole Citadel. So I'm sure because they did their job well, that they probably didn't get too many orders as probably a bunch of other people do. But I think she did a good job. I wasn't sure when they first announced her. I mean, obviously, I think she's a great actress, but I was like, I don't know if Charlize Theron is also a great actress. I think what's kind of funny is that both like Fury Road and this movie, like Fury Road has Mad Max in it, but it's more of like a Furiosa movie. Like she's also like a main character in that movie.
I can see that.
But like, you know how Tom Hardy was like very like a quiet Max and Barely Spoke in that movie, I feel like they did that with Furiosa in this movie, where she acted like Max, like she was the Max of this movie, even though Max wasn't in this movie, sort of.
And then the Furiosa was the Mentas?
No, Furiosa was just someone who's just like, I'm hell-bent on a mission, but this is like my thing, because this is what helps.
Furiosa is like Jack plus her, because she takes a lot of her learning from Jack for
at the same
how many
time,
years? Probably like 4 or 5 years.
And remember,
it was definitely a time.
And remember the whole thing with her is like, I need to get back home to the green place. Like that's her whole thing. Like she had a tattoo of what the stars to follow on her left arm before she lost it. Which I rewatched that scene. There's an interesting detail about that scene, which we'll get to later. But yeah, like she still knows how to get there. And it's just like that would have been her constant reminder. But the whole idea of like, you know, back to my point about like in various other Mad Max movies, there are always these other characters with their own, like their kind of own main agenda, like their main storyline, and Max is just kind of thrown into it. That except for the first one. The first one is basically a good old fashioned revenge tale, where Max is avenging the death of his wife and daughter. While he's a cop in like in a society that's already starting to deteriorate because of resources. So part 2, he's known as the Road Warrior. So he's going around there just kind of scavenging, sort of like a mercenary, kind of like willing to trade his skills or whatever to hire. And he ends up finding a refinery in part 2, and those people are holding off a siege from these other, you know, weirdo band of raiders on the wasteland, led by this guy called the Lord Humongous. And Max gets thrown.
Again with the name.
Yeah, dude. No, it's
part 3.
Part 3 is even better. So they get to Max gets mixed up in these things because one of those raiders tried to jump Max and take his stuff, but Max was able to fight him off. And then he sees that, oh, that guy's part of his crew, and so because they say, hey, if you help us escape and get this one truck or whatever to help take our things, we will give you a whole bunch of gas and you can go on your way. And Max is like, yeah, man, I'm here for a deal. Like, let's just try to make it happen. But kind of, you know, Western style, badass with a heart of gold thing, stuff happens. I won't spoil, you know, Road Warrior. You should watch Road Warrior because it's pretty cool.
I'll try to get to them at some point.
Yeah, right now I think they're all on Max. So you can watch them if they're...
Mad Max?
Yeah. It's
on Mad HBO Max.
Mad HBO Max. HBO Mad Max.
He's very much like the man with no name, like the Clint Eastwood character from those spaghetti westerns. And they aren't a couple of the movies kind of told by someone else. And they're
part
like
2
and 3, right?
Yeah, part 2 is told by someone else. Part 3 is also told by someone else that like recounts like, hey, like
right. So it's like 2 and 3 are like just people's like stories that they've heard of Max.
Yeah.
And so I kind of liked how this one was kind of like someone's story about
Furiosa.
So
which was in this case the history man's telling of Furiosa. And and Thunderdome is a whole thing. Like you said, like part 3 Thunderdome, it's like 2 different people. There's people in this place called Bartertown.
What do they do there?
What do they do in Bartertown? Everything.
Basketball.
No, if you break a deal, you face the wheel. And then you settle disputes in the Thunderdome, where 2 men enter and 1 man leaves. Dude, there's like Beyond Thunderdome is its own special thing. The head of Bartertown is Auntie Entity, played by the late great Tina Turner. Ooh, and then the place is run by electricity because it's methane with a whole bunch of pigs, and that the methane process is run by this little person named Master, and he has this giant person that he runs around with called Blaster. And
Master Blaster.
They are the Master Blaster. And then there's this guy called Pig Killer because he's sentenced down to work with the pigs because he killed a pig, you know, try to get meat for his kids. And then there's this whole other tribe of kids who got lost because their parents crashed on a plane and they were trying to like go find civilization to bring back to the kids. And the kids have their own little legend of what happened and everything. So Max in part 3 gets embroiled in all that stuff and trying to get those kids to safety. It's wild. So there's a lot of that where Max is reluctantly pulled into this kind of stuff, More so now with Fury Road, because as we saw in Fury Road, after Furiosa, lost her arm and she's struggling to get back to the Citadel, you see Max kind of in the wasteland, like overlooking her. But
that's a little weird. But
it's weird. I think it's weird, but it makes sense to me because he's still fighting off his demons. Because we don't know between at the end of Beyond Thunderdome and then whatever happens in time to get to Fury Road, where he. I guess he ran into other people and he let them down, and that's why he's kind of in his own level of madness.
So it is in order. So Mad Max 1, 2,
Thunderdome, Fury Road. Yeah.
Furiosa then.
Well, how old is he in Thunderdome?
Oh, it's hard to say.
Would technically Fury Road be like before Thunderdome?
No.
Okay.
It's after, because. Just like in
or is it just
Thunderdome? Because in Thunderdome, remember, he has
you don't
longer
know his
hair.
Age because it's just people telling stories. So maybe Tom Hardy is just like whatever, another story version of him.
Yeah, it could be, but we know that the history people still chronicle stuff because everything that happened with Dementis. We're going into lore here, but anyway, let's get back to the movie. Yeah, the whole Octoboss fight sequence is great because storytelling. They're like, oh, Dementis can't keep control of his other people, so they've broken away, and so you have those, not the vultures, but the other motorcycle people, and then that's when we get these crazy set pieces, and you think just when it's done they're flying around and they're hijacking other cars and then stuff,
dropping bombs
on their moms and war boys, and then you get the Octoboss in his paraglider,
it's just it's insane, man.
That was so.
It looked like a huge kite.
Yeah, it was a massive kite, and he had his whole thing. That's what, and he looked like an octopus in the air. Hence the name Octoboss.
And it worked because he had the fan blowing and the tentacles blowing in the wind. It was awesome,
dude.
It's some cool props and design for sure.
It was also kind of sad too because almost all the practically all the war boys died, and even the little war boy that was hey, activate the flails at the back, and he ended up perishing from getting shot. And I was like, damn, that sucks. But it also showed Furiosa's not completely heartless, because hey, I kind of it sucks that we went through all this together, and then that's why at the end of it she was kind of mad. She's nah, get me off, Jack. I'm gonna get the hell out of here. And then
he Sparring kicks her off the truck.
Yeah, right in the chest. And after that recruits her. And again, I think the other action piece I think was really cool was the chase to get out of
the bullet farm.
To just before we get to the bullet farm fight sequence, just the chase to get out of Gastown. That was pretty scary.
Yeah, where they kind of loop around almost.
And Dementis
follow me.
He's follow me. You need to get out now. And it was it was even
they felt like a continuous sequence though, because it definitely felt the stress and
yeah, dude, I was very impressed with that. I was like, this is cool and kind of freaky. And then again, still telling the story of yeah, Dementis is this charismatic guy, willing to do kind of whatever it takes, but he's a terrible manager. He's a terrible manager and leader of systems and people and stuff. Whereas Immortan Joe is at least hella competent, even if he's also cruel in his own right. Making people not get addicted to water and all that junk. But
yeah, somehow Dementis is shown worse than Immortan Joe in this movie.
Even though Immortan Joe is I have a harem of wives, and if they don't give me babies, I kick them out. That's still pretty messed up.
He's but I'm not splitting people in half with motorcycles.
Yeah.
Well, not in half.
In half. 20 pieces.
No, he's drawing and quartering people with that. Yeah, man. George Miller was, again, not afraid to kind of go into that stuff. Even the final chase sequence when Furiosa, at the end of the Wasteland War, she's chasing down Dementis' gang, and Dementis does the old switcheroo. She's looking through the sniper rifle, and this one dude, the funny guy without the eye or whatever, gets literally torn in half or torn in pieces. So, yeah, good eye for the camera while showing you yo, that's pretty messed up, but visceral storytelling from George Miller. I also like the colors and the way the desert looked was really cool in different angles and different different colors from different times of the day.
They had some moments were similar to Fury Road, where it was like that bright orange. But since this movie had different locations, I like how he was able to change different hues,
vibes.
way different colors than just standard desert. Like, no, it's different.
Oh yeah, like,
different parts.
Exactly. Speaking of different parts and like different colors, Danny, how did you like the whole bullet farm sequence?
Which part?
The part where they got to the bullet farm and they realized it was a trap, and they're like, "Crap, we need to get out of here."
Oh yeah.
Where Jack was like, "Hey, we'll do this run, and then you can go. Like, just go, be free."
But then, obviously, he like kind of like took over the go, and he just
he took the rig. He took the rig. I was like, "I'm gonna plow through this shit and make it
go through the whole like spiral down."
Gauntlet.
Yeah, he ran the freaking gauntlet in the bullet farm. But Furiosa was like, "No, I gotta go back in there," which is cool because you have the flamethrowers and stuff too, and then all the road war stuff and the flamethrowers, and
because then the gate closed and she couldn't get out with the vehicle, right?
No, she couldn't go back in. She couldn't go back in.
That's right.
But the gate was so big and the holes in between.
Like she could
the
go
gate,
in.
a person can fit through the hole,
but not the
car.
vehicle. That's what it was. Yeah,
exactly.
So she goes back in and
sniping.
She just snipes everybody. Like, oh, cool. Got it from her mom.
That was a cool sniping sequence. Just picking people off.
Yeah, and it was. And you saw, and then Dementis was like, "I need to get the rocket launcher, so I'm gonna stick the guy forward." He dies. Then he grabbed the freaking RPG, and that was, again, he's slick, but he's also ruthless about that. Like,
and at that point, he still didn't know it was her.
No, he still didn't know it was her. And then that also shows you why, like, Dementis can't keep people with loyalty, because he's willing to sacrifice his people all the time. Like the whole Trojan horse maneuver into Gastown. It's just like, like, they're not buying it. It's like, well, we gotta kill people. It's like, I was like, holy crap.
That's when that guy was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I was like, that is...
It's like, you gotta make it believable.
Yeah, make it look
and
real.
as soon as he killed that guy, open the gates!
Yeah, right? It's like, open up. Yeah.
One thing I like that they did was, since the whole movie you see progression of her as a little girl, and then, being in her, I guess, like 20s.
Yeah.
So they show her going through so much crap, and they show progression of her learning, her getting better. So it's not like by the time you see her sniping and killing fools, it's not like, oh, she got that. It's like, no, dude, you've seen throughout this movie that she's gotten the crap kicked out of her through her whole life, as up until that point, and she's been training with probably the most badass guy in the Citadel for I don't know how many years.
And she was raised by all those badass women.
Right. Her mom, they show at the beginning of the movie that her mom is a crazy sniper.
Well, her mom was nuts.
Right.
Like, one dude got shot, they're like, what the hell? Those guys are like, what the hell was that? We gotta keep...
And the very first scene in the movie when she's picking whatever apple or whatever she picked from the green place, and then she sees the people that came in, immediately she goes into like, okay, now I gotta like defensive mode, and she already knows what to do. She's cutting the gas lines of the motorcycle and everything. Yeah. So it's like, even from that young age, she was already like trained from
showing her confidence, and it shows an evolution of it too, like so refinement.
That's what I'm talking about. Versus
with the building,
right? Like, versus in some other movies, like some characters are like automatic. They know how to do everything, and they're just good at everything. It's like, you show us like at least one or like two scenes of them progressing, and then it'll make sense. But so I'm glad in this movie, it's a little long, but at least they showed progression throughout the whole movie, and I'm glad they did that. It's not just Furiosa has been Charlize Theron since she was 5 years old. It's like, no, man, it took a lot of crap for her.
Or
to get
they could have just skipped it and skipped the whole like her as a child.
I mean, granted, I would have liked the child portion of the movie to maybe be a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
So that the movie wouldn't be as long, because I think that's probably one of the reasons why, at least for me, that the movie felt long, because of that long hour section before she, starts doing the war rig rides. But I really do like the thing I kind of wish that they didn't skip out on was when they do the 40-day war. It's just like and there was a 40-day war, and they show a montage, and they don't really show anything.
It reminded me of a Ken Burns Civil War documentary.
I was kind of like, man, so
show me more road war.
And they didn't have to show.
But
it didn't have to be
blown up.
Right, but the thing is, like, okay, don't show a 20-minute scene of the war. It's like you could have shown a montage of like weeks. Like, this is what's been happening. It could have been like a 5-minute scene of a montage of what was happening. And I would have rathered that. Like,
we got like 5 seconds and like foggy explosions.
Yeah, I would have rathered a 5 to 10-minute montage in that sequence, and then like shave off 10 minutes of her being a little kid.
Yeah,
and they could have easily done it because they probably went over a few things multiple times that they didn't need to when she was younger. And it's like you got the gist where by the time she ends up, like when she gets to the Citadel. But yeah, that was like one of my main gripes. Like, oh, I wish they would, like, that could have been another quick action sequence, like right there for like a 5-minute action sequence and shown something cool, because they made it seem like the Citadel went ham with the War Boys and cars and whatever to fight off Dementus's goons.
Yeah, because they
should have shown something.
Yeah.
But it's like, man, I wish I could have seen one more crazy little car scene, but they just didn't.
Like more of the bikers. Again, a lot of it still this biker horde, which was cool because we still saw the biker horde trying to fight off
cars.
Yeah, bikes versus cars. But they try to like siege into the Citadel, and they're like, oh, you messed up, friend, and it's like pick any one of them to fight, and like that guy, and then he immediately pulls out he's like, I want that one, and then okay, he whips out the silver. I'm like, oh, he's gonna blow himself up. Mm-hmm. And then it was great because then the people here is like, every one of them is gonna do that. Mm-hmm. You messed up, and then immediately they start crabbing and like just like fending off the siege, and you're like, oh yeah, they messed up. And it showed like it was a great way to show like the power of the Citadel, so that when you end up watching Fury Road, like yeah, Immortan Joe knows what the hell he's doing. And it just, creates this like foil for Dementus to try to, one up it. I wanted to talk about after the sniping and breaking out of the bullet farm, how they end up still catching up to Jack and Furiosa. The way we end up getting Furiosa's arm mangled from the 6 foot.
Yeah, it was rough.
That was rough.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
And they tease it. Throughout the movie, they tease it. Is it this one? No, not that time.
I was waiting the whole
they tease it.
movie. I was like, it's going to be somewhere around here.
That's the subverting with expectations. Well, like, it's going to happen, but like it's still rough to see.
But the movie was violent enough throughout the movie where I thought it was going to happen when she was a little kid. I'm like, damn, that would have been messed up.
Yeah.
I thought she was going to, at some point, maybe like do it herself so that...
Well, she did.
No.
I don't... So we'll talk about that.
I think she just like... No. Eventually just fell off.
If you watch closely, we'll get to the scene afterwards.
But I'm saying, like, I thought she was going to maybe do it herself. Like, not obviously like because it was already damaged, but like, cut it off herself so that they wouldn't have access to, like...
Well, if she cuts it off herself, what would she do with her stump of an arm?
Yeah, I know, but like I don't know. Like,
was it the arm with the stars on it?
Yes, that's the arm with the stars on it. Yeah.
I thought that was gonna play into something, but
no. So after all of that, and they end up getting captured, and
turns into Kratos.
Just dig up
it as like a chaos.
Dig up somewhere in the desert and
just. I don't know where it is. It doesn't matter. She already knows where it is.
Yeah.
So after all of that, Dementus is like, oh, I gotta teach you a lesson. And like that's when they just parade Jack around until he just like collapses and the dogs.
Wild dogs are eating.
That's the thing. And so here's where what I believe, and I think others may agree with this, but when I saw this, you can tell that like they're just going at it for the whole time, and Dementus's goons at a certain point are like, can we stop? Like this is enough.
Yeah,
and even though Dementus is like, and then Dementus is like, oh, I'm bored. Like that's it. Like okay, let's just stop it. But you can see there's a point where either it's Mr. Harley or Mr. Davidson, whatever. You could see a point where after the smoke is the dust is all cleared up, you could see that he sheaths a knife or like a big like sword. Uh-huh. So I have a feeling from like a mercy thing. It's just like, dude, just like go. You're gonna die anyway. But just like this is rough. So it looks like they cut her down because like.
Well, didn't he look surprised though when like he just sees her arm there? He was like, wait,
no,
what?
it's Dementus who looked at it.
Dementus.
Yeah, Dementus looked surprised. Like, oh, what the heck? Like, where is she? And then that's when she wakes up with all the maggots.
But I didn't notice the...
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why, like, again, I want to rewatch it again because I want to confirm that because watching it, I was like, oh, wait a minute. But
But she runs away with one of their motorcycles, right? Or
yeah, she runs away, and then she also messed up one of their cars. She mixed up the 6 foot. Yeah, she messed up the 6 foot because it like stalled or something, so they couldn't catch her. And so she's stuck, and she's trying to get back to the Citadel, and that's when we see the Max cameo. Just like, the hell is this? Yeah, I'm not gonna mess with that.
I think for me the weird thing about that is because it looked like it looked like the similar shot from the beginning of Fury Road, where when he eats that lizard or whatever, and he's just like looking out. It looked like that scene, but the camera was just above him. But it didn't make sense because in Fury Road, that obviously wasn't when Charlize Theron was 12 or whatever,
or like 18 or something. Yeah, but and then she wakes up.
Oh right, she was already Anya Taylor-Joy at that point.
And she wakes up with all the rest of the maggot farmers.
It's nasty.
That was crazy because I think I was watching it with like even my sister, and she's like, "Why are they doing it?" I'm like, "How do you think they get their protein?" Because the maggots, they just cultivate the maggots and then crush them and then you eat them because Bear Grylls would be proud. You got to have your source
and it's
of
also
protein.
Good for those wounds that
that cleans up the wounds too.
There to clean it up.
It's kind of that's why even the red chick be like, no, stay. I'm like, do they really want to help her or eat her? Like that's why they
probably eat her.
It was kind of messed up because those wretches were the same people in Fury Road when they're like, here it comes, when like barely a little bit of water shows up, and it's like, man, you have those people like doing what? Like, yeah, they live in the Citadel, but doing what exactly?
Nothing.
Just chilling.
Chilling in little caves.
Yep.
With body parts.
Yeah, man. So that's when Furiosa ends up going, hey, what's his name? Or sorry, Dementus has the bullet farm. It's like, that's impossible. It's like, nope, he has the bullet farm. This is a trap. And they're trying to like, whole thing. And that's when you have the son's kind of like Scabrous Scrotus. Yeah.
What a name.
That's his Slit from Fury Road.
That's Slit from Fury Road. He's just like, no, like he's the same thing. It's like, which is cool that George Miller put him back in, but as someone else. Which, funny enough, I'm gonna go lore again. That's the villain of the Mad Max video game that came out in 2015.
Who, Scrotus?
Scrotus. Yeah. So it's like he's the other son. They're like, oh, it's cool that you see now the other son, and maybe it's the other son that is in charge of Gastown. So that again now in Fury Road, but we get to that point where. They want to drive that really badass V8 car, which ends up Furiosa after she tools herself up with the prosthetic.
Well, no, isn't the People Eater the guy who was in charge of the Gastown?
I think he was just
in Fury Road.
Yeah, in Fury Road, is he in charge of Gastown?
Yeah, because when they like called out all the factions of the 3 cities,
they just said, "Here comes the People Eater. Here come to count the cost." So like that implies he's an accountant. Then we find out in. Furiosa, he is the main accountant of all that stuff.
Yeah, because I don't think, beside him and then the guy from the bullet farm, I don't think they showed anyone else who was like a high-ranking person from another town in Fury Road.
No.
Everyone else was just person in car.
Or
the Doof Warrior.
Or the Doof Warrior, who also showed up in this movie too.
Best part of the movie.
The guitar, did the guitar light up?
No, it wasn't on fire.
It wasn't on fire.
You had to have the doof.
What's the name?
The Doof Warrior.
The Coma Doof Warrior. Get that right. Anyway, Furiosa ends up taking.
It was legendary in Fury Road.
What was legendary was that cool buggy that Furiosa rode to track down Dementus. Like that was cool.
It had 3 tires, and then they gave her another one. Or no, she went to another car.
Yeah, grabbed the tire.
She's like, I'm gonna take this.
She's like, this is my car now. I think I read somewhere. Is like, I think I want to watch it again. But if you look closely, some of the stuff from the insides of that car ends up going into the other war rig that's in Fury Road.
Nice.
So, her whole like cold stalking of Dementus and his crew at the very end of that was badass. Like, it was like.
It could have been a bit shorter, but it was still cool.
It was cool, and I love the satisfaction we were getting out of it because she's like, oh, she's gonna take her time to really mess him up. And then at the very end, I thought it was really thematically hitting with Dementus, like, oh, if you're gonna do me, and you gotta make it epic because like she just smacking him around is like, oh, okay, like this does nothing, like. In a way, I made you like I did what I wanted to do, which is make
little D.
Make a little D. So you're like me now, which to a point, like he was kind of right, because the way, and if you believe the history man at the very end, the way they made it epic was that they made a piece of that tree from her seeds like grow as a part of him, which is really messed up if you think about it. It's really, really messed up.
I'm alive.
Yeah, still alive. You think at the end of Fury Road when they go back, he's still alive?
I mean, so. Anything could happen.
That's if you believe that.
If you believe the history, man.
If you believe that story, because this essentially it could have. Yeah, it could have been any of those things could have happened, or something else could have happened.
Yeah,
and he's just like, this is what I was told, but you don't know if he's telling the truth.
That's true.
Especially with the Citadel, there's plenty of greenery in the Citadel, so it could be anywhere. Even though that where they showed it in this movie, it was in that spot that her and Jack were, usually talking with each other and almost kissing with their foreheads.
That's true. Almost kissing with their foreheads.
Or they kissed with their foreheads, but they didn't kiss.
No, because, they're road warriors. They gotta be hard.
One person was.
Maybe, maybe not. But yeah, that was sad. Yeah, like I remember like the theater we were in, it's like, no, it's Jack. I'm like, yeah, dude, how do you think she gets hell bent on vengeance in general?
It's like she was already hell bent because of her mom, and then it's like, oh, and the dude that's training me,
helping me out with all this stuff. Yeah, you're going like that's why I'm like,
like anyone that she's with for like an extended period of time.
At the same time, she also knows how the wives are being treated, so that's why at the end of all this stuff, like, yeah, like. If I found a good time to break away and get back to the green place, let me take these women because that's, a safe haven for them too. And screw that guy, Immortan Joe, because,
I think we spoke about this when we watched the movie. So, because the end of the movie, after she, gets her vengeance on Dementis, it kind of shows, she gets back to the Citadel, and it's kind of like, this is her new life in the Citadel. And it kind of skips forward ahead a little bit, and then it kind of shows the night before the events of Fury Road.
Yeah,
because it shows her on purpose. It was nighttime,
sneaking into,
and they didn't show Anya Taylor-Joy, so you could have been like, oh, okay, because by that point she's older, and it could be Charlize Theron at that point.
Yeah,
but so it's like her sneaking the wives into the war rig before the trek on the next day.
Yeah.
So kind of like what we were saying, just like Rogue One, how technically this movie could lead right into Fury Road, but the movie itself is kind of vague with that like time skip. So I guess my thinking process was like, so between the real end of the movie and then the little sequence the night before Fury Road, does that mean it took her about like 4 years to like devise this plan to take the wives away from Immortan Joe?
It took
something like that.
4 to 5 years. I think it was like setting up all of that because because
it wasn't like a week later.
Because it's not like, okay, after all that, congratulations, now you're in charge of the war rig. Like it's probably a little bit more. It's like, hey, like you're my imperator that's had the most experience so far. So here we go.
So what I'm saying is, because of I guess the slight hints that they give with how many days that she was away and how many years that this movie takes place, I think it's about 4 years between after killing Dementis and then Fury Road. So part of me is kind of like, if it's only 4 or 5 years, it's like you're showing Anya Taylor-Joy as a kind of in her mid to late 20s, and Fury Road, she's probably like late 30s or 40.
Or, it's only 5 years, but you age like, so much quicker because you're in a nasty, irradiated, post-apocalyptic wasteland of stress. Which,
well, no, not where they live. They have it pretty good over there. Especially her.
But she
has it better than most people there.
However, every trip down the Fury Road might be your last. So you have to be like stone cold. That's a lot of stress, a lot of other stuff going on. Like, we don't see her living like a queen. So
for me, it's kind of like the same thing where it's like a lot of the young actresses nowadays are, no, just actors in general. Because like Tom Holland's one of them. Like a lot of them are very baby faced, and so they can still pull off playing younger characters. But like Tom Holland now is in his mid 20s, but he's still playing 17, 18-year-old Peter Parker. Same thing with like Zendaya. That's why I kind of had trouble believing she was like a a 30-something-year-old in that movie Challengers because she still looks like she's very young.
She plays both like the young.
She plays herself in like as a 18-year-old in high school, 19-year-old, but then herself
30s.
when she's in her 30s. But it's like, but she looks the same. So she grew her hair or she cut her hair. I'm like, that doesn't fool me, Zendaya. But so that's kind of where I had like the disconnect. It's like Anya Taylor-Joy. I know she's probably either in her late 20s or maybe she's 30 now, but she still looks really young, and so it's hard for me to believe that she just grows up into Charlize Theron in a couple of years. But whatever, it's not that big of a deal.
Also to point out, she's in both desert movies. She's in Dune 2.
She's in Dune 2 and Furiosa. She'll be queen of the desert. Yeah, she'll probably be in Dune Messiah or Dune Part 3, whatever we're going to call it. But overall,
connections, and Timothy
and
Chalamet, and Chalamet, the other another very young actor who's in his mid-20s.
I mean, literally all of the I think Variety posted like the top 10 like
up and comers, A-listers or whatever.
A-listers, and like 5 of them are in Dune 2.
This movie's great.
Yeah, but back to Furiosa, with that kind of talking about the ending, how like it's just like, you know, it was like a weird. It's like I'm thinking about it's like a tragic ending because it's like Furiosa became this battle hardened person, but then it's like, oh wait, you need the reminder of Fury Road to go. It gets better instead of it ending on like a downer ending.
It does it though. Does it though?
Yeah, because she ends up bringing back and liberating the Citadel.
But it makes that one scene even worse because she doesn't find the green place.
Yeah, which makes it even sadder.
I know.
So then we got another movie.
Well, he wants to do another one, but it's not gonna happen.
It's not.
This movie did not make money.
Well, we'll see. But if it's, I think a lot of the critical acclaim, and if Warner Brothers wants to give it another shot with all the money that like Dune raked in, whatever, then hey, maybe
that's the thing because this movie, like I think the majority of people liked it. So it's not like, it bombed because it was bad. It's like, people liked it. It's just not that many people watched
it. Went to go watch it because they're like, oh, is this like, it's a Mad Max Saga. Like, do I have to go and watch other stuff? And like Danny's point, like, did I have to watch Fury Road beforehand? Which we said yes.
Well, now
I
you definitely should.
Fury Road be right before, literally same day. But I'll get into my rating.
Let's get right into the ratings. Yeah, let's get right to it.
All right.
I'm gonna give it 8. I think if I give Fury Road like a rock solid 9 in terms of like just overall movie, I would still, even though this one's longer, like I like the pace of Fury Road better, I would still give this an 8.5 teddy bears out of 10. 8.5 teddy bears. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think like Anthony's mentioned it before, like a lot of the character world building. The acting's really strong, given all the wild words and phrases that people are making in the wasteland.
Oh, I need to go
shot
next.
Really well,
but
too.
Before you do your rating,
it's shot really well.
I want to, now that we're almost at the end of this, we have not, and this was going to be one of the reasons why I'm going to lower the score a little bit because of the score.
Yeah, because of the music.
We went through this whole podcast and we did not once mentioned the music. Is because at least when I watched the movie, I felt like I didn't hear anything.
I don't remember.
Like I was playing my copy of God of War from the PS4.
You need to replay that game.
But there were
music.
Like, there were sections where the music was there and it was cool, but there was also some moments where it was some of the same songs from Fury Road or same themes, and then there were some sections where there was just no music. I felt like the majority of this movie there wasn't that much music.
As great of sequence is with the Octoboss attack on the war rig getting to Gastown.
Yeah, I don't think
there was barely any music.
I know,
which I think would have elevated the movie more if there was more music. But
I definitely. I think so. Now you can.
Yeah.
This is the first time we talked about the music.
Tom Holkenborg has some awesome stuff with Fury Road, and he used some of it again in Furiosa. But I think there could have been a little more.
Well, for me, I think my rating's a little different just because, one, I had only seen Fury Road
an hour
before this movie, and all my Mad Max knowledge comes from those 4 hours in that same day.
So you got a lot of world building in that.
Yeah. I will say I did like Fury Road better. And I know you guys told me to watch Fury Road before this movie, but now I'm curious to see if I would have enjoyed this one more watching it first than Fury Road. And maybe we could test that on Zach.
Yeah. Have Zach watch it, but have him leave right before the credits.
I think we're going to do that. And we're going to post an update on our social medias
just
about what's going to happen. But he's going to be our control test. Oh, this is going to be great. Cannot wait. So go ahead, Danny.
I'll sneak it in a little bit like you did. Fury Road, I'll probably give like a 9 or a 9.5. I thought it was excellent. And the score was top notch on there. Just all the action sequences were just so over the top.
I had that soundtrack.
Brothers in Arms is still in my gym playlist.
I gotta go through the soundtrack again.
Brothers in Arms is so good.
But for this one, although I did enjoy it, I liked Chris Hemsworth's character a lot.
Yeah, he really helped elevate this a lot.
I liked maybe the pacing was a little off for me, but I did enjoy, even though I thought we got Child Furiosa a little longer than I would have liked. I did like that we got a lot of story with it. So it definitely built up her character, and when things happen towards the middle and end, it kind of feels earned. But I'll give this one maybe like a 7.5
Motorcycle chariots.
Okay.
Nice.
But I still enjoyed it. I think it's a solid entry into to being a prequel.
Yeah.
Now I just gotta do some more homework and watch 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that changes. But solid. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Fun on the big screen for sure.
Yes. Nice. Go watch it in theaters, please, so it makes more money. I'm in a similar boat. Acting was great. Cinematography was great. The movie looked great. A little bit more over-reliance on some CGI in this movie than in Fury Road.
But it's not egregious, right?
Like not that much, but it was noticeable that it was more than Fury Road. But it's still great looking. Definitely a movie just like Fury Road to watch in theaters. If you want more movies like this that has crazy action like this, then you got to go out and pay for it to watch it so that they can make more of them. But yeah, like I mentioned just now, a little let down by the music that it just seemed like it was absent for a lot of the movie. Whereas in Fury Road, I felt like because a lot of Fury Road, since the movie is more tight and since there's like a big action scene every like maybe 15 minutes or so, 10 or 15 minutes, then like each action sequence has this big bombastic song or theme to it. Is really cool.
There was a part in Fury Road where there was no music, but there's still action.
Yes, the scene where they were in the now we know that it was the green place, the whole nighttime sequence.
No, before that.
But that scene, I don't think had music at all.
No, before that.
When that guy was coming, when he got blind and he was shooting, there was no music during that.
The scene after the sandstorm, where Furiosa...
Well, yeah, because they just had like a 15-minute sequence of music there.
And
I think it was like 2 different songs.
Sequence.
Right, so it's like they had to calm down after that. I had to calm down after that. But acting was good in this movie. Anya Taylor-Joy did a great job.
One thing we didn't talk about, and it's very important to talk about, Chris Dementis' nose prosthetic.
Oh my god,
I loved it.
So weird.
It was perfectly weird.
So weird.
Like he just looked.
And he had a cape, but it wasn't a cape. It was a parachute.
It was the parachute, but
that was cool too.
It was so freaking
I liked the world building in this movie because it just like added to what he did in Fury Road. So a lot of my score has to do with just because it's like prequelitis, if that's a word. Like,
nah, that makes sense.
If this movie came out 10 years ago and came out first, we all would have been like, hey, this movie is pretty awesome. And then if Fury Road came out now, we would have been like, what is this? Like, this guy just made
the ultimate
2
sequel.
Ridiculous movies. Like, and I think we would have been telling a slightly different story about Furiosa, but because Fury Road came out 9 years ago, I can't believe it's been 9 years.
Yeah, guys.
Since 2015.
Freaks me out.
And then this movie came out now, it's like, because Fury Road was so good, like, it's just very hard to live up to how well that movie came out. And I really liked it. Just like you said, it's like almost a 10 for me, 9.5. Like there's almost nothing wrong for me with Fury Road. And so yeah, this one just being a little bit longer. It could have been tighter. It didn't have to be the 2 hours like Fury Road, but if they shaved off maybe like 15 minutes or so from somewhere, probably the sequence of when she's younger, because that was an hour of the movie. She
hung out with the history man.
I know.
And we got to see Mr. Morton.
Who was that guy in Dementis' group? He was like always in the background, kind of like acting out what Dementis was saying. If you don't, did you notice that?
The guy, the one.
It was the weird guy. I was always acting crazy, but whenever Dementis was like doing a speech or something, he was acting crazy, but sort of acting out what he was saying.
Dementis.
Yeah, he was his hype man.
He was his hype man
/ like actor, like doing his own like play.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
that guy was hilarious.
That dude was hilarious. Yeah, like little stuff like that. Like there were
nobody makes movies like this. This is George Miller being weird.
All these different factions like have their own like quirks and personalities, but then they're also like, hey, these people are lunatics, and the only ones that live in the wasteland. Mm-hmm. So like it sucks, but it's like damn, like that's what you're stuck with. Go back to your point.
Just because it's not as tight, it's a little bit too long, and the prequel of it all, not being as good as Fury Road, but still being good on its own right. I'd give it kind of like what Danny gave, like 7.5. If we were doing even more decimals, maybe like 7.8 or something like that. 7.5 mediocres, but it wasn't mediocre.
But
just because I like when they go mediocre. Yeah. But yeah, it's a good movie. Please go watch it, because he wants to make a third one, which I think would actually be a sequel to Fury Road.
It would just be more like Mad Max.
Yeah, some weird trilogy where that's all out of order.
The wasteland.
And I think he wanted to do it again with Tom Hardy. I don't know if that's going to happen, but because there was a lot of issues.
Hey, there's no more Venom movies after this, so Tom Hardy needs work.
No, I don't know if he needs it. He's coming to be in that biker movie that's coming out this weekend.
You mean Bikers?
Is that what it's called? Bikers?
I think
it's coming out this weekend, I think.
Yeah, I think it's called Bikers.
There you go. Tom Hardy movie Bikers with Austin Butler.
Yeah.
And Norman Reedus.
No, it's called... No, it's not called Bikers. I'm just like, wait a minute, guys. Don't listen to me. It's not called Bikers. It's called The Bike Riders.
Close. Dude, it's close.
But
what if Chris Hemsworth shows up in this movie with 3 motorcycles?
Apparently, historically, they actually did that, or like they try to do that and like have the weird little races like that. So that's pretty.
How do you like turn it on and off by just holding?
I guess
the straps.
Pull the throttle, but I just don't know how you change gears. No, how do you change gears? Turning is not the problem. It's changing the gears.
A little bit though, because it's like
whatever, man. It was so cool.
Exactly, like it looked so cool that you're just like, I don't care.
That's what I love.
It doesn't make sense.
Like, and it's like. This is why, like, I'm excited for Danny to go back and watch the old stuff, because, like...
Just how bonkers.
Like, yeah, like, it's like kind of like a car biker gang in part 1, but, like, parts 2 and 3, like, there's all these really cool imaginative, like, this imaginative imagery with the cars, with the people, with, like, a lot of the raiders and their getup and their outfits, their weapons, the survivors and other factions, like, the way they're living and how people are using, like... There's a guy in part 2 who, like... has a gyrocopter, and like he chucks stuff at people from the gyrocopter, like not even like, you know, with a parachute or whatever. He just has a little gyrocopter and he goes from point A to point B. Like it's I don't want to spoil what he throws at people, but it's hella inventive and insane. It's so cool. And
those windmill hang gliders in this movie are
those guys on the hang gliders and the
windmill things,
the paragliders, like
they did 3 iterations and each one was better than the other one.
Every time I was like,
they just leveled up.
He's like, all right, get level 2. He's like, oh.
Like it kept
so cool.
Like that was the one point, like there's no way, like.
And she kept doing cool like maneuvers around the truck, under the truck, through the truck.
Yeah, dude, it was freaking insane. Like wild ass parasailing road war. Like it's too cool. Like just for that alone was like 60% worth the price of admission if you don't have A-list and you're actually paying for tickets. But yeah. So if with all that encapsulating all of it, we enjoyed the movie. You know, like Fury Road is probably like the pinnacle of like George Miller's action stuff. But with that being said, like I agree that it's by no means makes its shortcomings make it a bad film. Like everybody who I know who have seen the movie thought they enjoyed it a lot. So here's hoping it gets someone replaces the wheels on this thing and it can kind of go a little more of a distance.
Zoom, zoom.
It's not a Mazda commercial.
I know.
It's vroom. It's got a vroom vroom. Back on a V8. So with that, everybody, if you also enjoyed Furiosa or you have no idea what the heck you're talking about, I told Danny this, but everyone else listening to, currently, since it's a Warner Brothers films, I think the Mad Max films are on Max. Funny enough.
You also have the first Mad Max on Peacock. Okay. If in case you don't have Max and you have
But
Peacock.
you have Comcast or something, yeah, why not?
I mean,
that's cool, yeah, man.
Just start off with the first one.
Mel Gibson's pretty good in the first three movies. Like Mel Gibson kind of really sells the rough badass with a heart of gold kind of thing. So, give the movies a watch. It's like I remember watching these movies. This and like Crocodile Dundee. I'm just like, man, Australia's a wild place. Like everything is trying to kill you, and people like assless chaps. If you've seen parts 2 and 3, you know what I'm talking about. But with that, everybody, Furiosa, really fun stuff. Go ahead and watch it, and check out the emojis that Danny will throw up there on the social medias. Can't wait to check those out. And summer still is proving to be an interesting time for movies, releases, whether they're digital, but in this case theatrical releases. So we'll see.
Got some more movies coming up, especially now mid-June and July.
Yeah, so. June and July are looking to be pretty stacked with a lot of they're mixing in some dramatic pieces as well as some big crowd pleasers, hopefully. Yeah. So
got Bad Boys this weekend.
Yeah.
It's not called Bad Boys for Life, which
so dumb.
I can't even I'm so mad at that. Anyway, no Bad Boys for Life. Well, yeah, Bad Boys
Ride or Die.
Ride or Die.
For life.
For life. Later on we're getting Inside Out 2, the next Despicable Me, July.
Alien.
Alien Romulus is what, in August?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in August.
So that's like the end of summer. We got Deadpool.
Wolverine. There's it's still planning to be a fun summer. So stay tuned to see what we get up to and watch next. Also stay tuned for a return to our weekly recommendation series. Hopefully we get into some fun stuff there too, okay? So once again, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We're really grateful for being a part of the conversation of us loving movies and TV. If you haven't done so yet, please like and subscribe on all the platforms that you see. That really helps us out immensely, and we can get back to more of the outreach and feedback and talk about more things that can get you involved in the conversation. So once again, everybody, thank you. Tune in and have a great rest of your day.
Later.
Witness me.